Washington, D.C. is on high alert as preparations get underway for Saturday's Justice for J6 rally. Crews began putting up fencing around the U.S. Capitol overnight as a precaution. The rally is expected to draw hundreds of people who say they are demanding justice for those who have been charged for their alleged roles in the January 6th riot at the Capitol. To talk more about this, I'd like to bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion. Hi, Nikole. What more can you tell us about this Justice for J6 rally and which groups this protest is expected to attract?
Well, this rally is primarily organized by a former Trump operative by the name of Matt Braynard, and so his organization is really the main entity behind this rally. And in a series of tweets actually today, he tried to send the message that this is intended to be a peaceful demonstration, and this is really just designed to raise attention about those who have been jailed for their offenses on January 6th. Now, he stressed rather that this is something where it is strictly designed to rally support for those nonviolent offenders of January 6th, those who may not have gotten due process, who may have been in poor jail conditions, that his organization does support the prosecution of anyone who committed violent offenses that day. So that is the message that he is sending ahead of this rally and demonstration. But we do know that there is the potential for some far-right extremist groups, whether that's the Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, that could potentially be a part of this as well. And that really is the key concern among law enforcement.
Sure, and as we mentioned, Nikole, that fencing is going up out of an abundance of caution. What are intelligence officials learning about any potential attacks, and how much of a fear is there that this could turn into another January 6th?
Well, you may recall just a couple of days ago, we saw an arrest made by U.S. Capitol Police of a suspect around the Democratic National Committee headquarters, someone who had a bayonet and a machete. But in terms of the fencing, obviously, this is the first time we've seen it gone up since it was taken down just about 2 months ago. Really, that perimeter around the Capitol was the last remnant of that fencing from January 6th. And as I mentioned, now 2 months later, we're seeing it go up again. It is pretty limited at this point. Most of it has been installed, and it really just encircles the Capitol for the most part. It has not been extended, for instance, to some of the congressional office buildings nearby. And in fact, just earlier this morning, we also saw a number of law enforcement officials from various local jurisdictions, local police departments who were kind of getting a walk around of the ground. So Capitol Police really trying to leave nothing to chance here and to take as many precautions, not just with the fencing, but in terms of making sure they have sufficient manpower, whether that's having support from local police departments on the ground, whether that's requesting the support of the National Guard just in case, so they have enough manpower, which of course was a key issue back on January 6th.
And Nikole, can you tell us a little bit more about what this rally is intended to address? I mean, we understand that there are complaints about the treatment or the charges against many of the people who participated in the January 6th insurrection. What is it exactly that these protesters are looking to see happen?
Well, again, it's primarily to raise awareness about how some of these, in their words, prisoners have been treated since January 6th. And again, the organizers tried to make clear that really the focus is on those who did not commit violence that day, some of these nonviolent offenders, if you will. But, look, we do know that there are some congressional candidates that are expected to address this group. For the most part, we don't expect any members of Congress to attend. Many of them have made clear that they do intend to stay away. Kevin McCarthy told reporters a couple of days ago he doesn't think that any of his members will be a part of this. So, it's kind of one of those situations where we kind of have to wait and see. I can also say in terms of some of the guidance that these demonstrators are being given, they're being told to, for instance, wear red, white, and blue, but not to wear any type of apparel that promotes a particular candidate or politician, whether that's former President Trump or President Biden. So again, at least the organizers are trying to, I think, try to de-escalate the situation in advance as much as they can, also stressing that they've been in touch with law enforcement as well in terms of their planning. Also worth noting that this is not just the only event that we're expecting here in Washington, that this group is planning additional rallies and demonstrations throughout the country over the coming days.
All right, Nikole Killion on Capitol Hill, thank you so much.
You bet.